There, this is Krista. Today I'm going to share with you a video about being late. First, I want to let you in on a little secret. Up until very recently, I was horrible with being late. It's something I struggled with my whole life. A lot of people said I get it from my mother. My mother was always late. So growing up, it was the example that I always saw. So as I myself grew up, I picked up this trait that she had, and I ended up always being late. So, one little story that really sticks out to me was in high school. We had a carpool to get to school. So, my stepfather would start with me, and then he would go pick up one of my friends, go pick up another, and then we would drive to school together. Now, every morning I kind of pushed my luck. We were supposed to leave the house around 7:45. So, some days it was 7:50, others 7:55, and it got to the point where it was around 8 o'clock. So my stepfather said to me, "You know what, Krista, if you can't be on time, I'm going to leave without you." So I thought he was bluffing. I was like, surely he would not leave without me. I need to get to school. So the next morning, I come downstairs, I walk outside to get in the car. It's maybe, 7:55, around there, and the car is gone. He left without me. He was not bluffing. He was not joking. So lucky for me, he just wanted to teach me a lesson, and he did want me to get to school. So what he had done was gone to go pick up my friends and then came back and picked me up after. But I will never forget that lesson. However, habits are hard to break, and it took me a lot longer in order to break this habit. So my being late continued throughout high school. It continued into university as well. In fact, it continued right up until when I met my now husband, then boyfriend, Tyler. Now, Tyler was and is an extremely punctual person. His whole family is. They're all very punctual. And, that definitely butted up with my being late. So we had a lot of struggles at the beginning where he had to really learn his patience to wait while I was getting ready and going to make us late. And then I had to learn to try to work on this bad habit I had. So I very distinctly remember the first time that I introduced Tyler to my best friend, Andrea. And we were going for lunch together. So Tyler, sure enough, was ready to go half an hour early and said, "Okay, let's go, let's get in the car, let's get there." And you know what? This time I actually did really well, and I was ready. So we went to the restaurant, and we actually got there 15 minutes early. So I texted Andrea, and I said, "We're here, see you soon." Andrea, always the early one, was actually not there yet, and she ended up arriving a couple minutes later, and she walked over to me and said, "Krista, marry this man. He must be the one if he can make you be on time." So since I met Tyler, that's kind of when my habit took a turn for the better, and I started making an improvement to be on time and not be late. So when it comes to being late, one thing I hadn't really thought about before was what it signals to the other person. When you're late, have you thought that basically it's saying that your time is more valuable than the other person's time? I hadn't really consciously thought of this before. I certainly didn't consciously feel this way, that my time was more valuable than my friends. However, once I took a step back and I thought about it, I realized it made a lot of sense because you're making them wait, and you're instead taking the time to do something else that you are deeming more of a priority. So once I thought about it from that perspective, it really kind of changed the way I thought about being late. And I started to place a lot more importance on being on time. The other thing that I had struggled with in terms of being late was this feeling that I needed to make the most out of every minute, every second. So, by being early, it felt like I was wasting that time. But when I actually thought about it, and I took that step back again, I said, what is the real harm of being early? You could do something else. You can people watch. You can have a moment to reflect. You can be on your phone. And so I decided, rather than aim to be there on time, which often led to me being late, because if anything went wrong, it would push me over and I would be late. I decided I was going to always try to be at least 15 minutes early. And wow, what a shift that has been in my life. I didn't realize the stress that I had. Every time I was going somewhere and I was right up against the clock, and if anything went wrong, I was going to be late. And so every time I was going somewhere, I had this extra stress, this anxiety. So since I've started to just say, you know what, I'm going to be early. What's the harm in it? It's greatly reduced that stress, and it's made me more present when that other person arrives. I have had a chance to reflect. I've had a chance to gather my thoughts, to relax, and I think it's made me better able to show up with my friends and with the fellow people that I'm meeting. So that's my story about how I've gone from a person who is always late to someone who is now always early. So I hope that you can take some of this information and just keep your mind open to thinking about it from this new perspective. And maybe it'll help you too, and maybe it'll help you be a happier person and live a healthier life. Thank you so much. Have a great day.